Hi, and if you're new to the channel and a bit confused about the mixed content, the channel started just to teach people how to read Thai, but there was very little interest. And that didn't surprise me because years ago I wrote some web-based tutorials about learning to read Thai, and those too got very little interest. And I've met so many Farangs over the years who live in Thailand and have no interest in the language. So it wasn't surprising at all. Anyway, to try to attract some more people to this channel, I decided to widen the content. That's why you'll see videos about other aspects of living in Thailand rather than just language. But I certainly don't want to forget about language, and there are people who have subscribed just for language. So today this will be another Thai language video. When I began learning to speak Thai, it was incredibly frustrating. And the main reason for that is that at the time I wasn't able to read Thai. And so the resources I had used transliteration. And as I've mentioned several times on this channel, the transliteration is a complete disaster. Once I'd learned to read Thai, I could then go back and see why the transliteration was so bad. And now I understand why it's bad, but at the same time, I don't need to use it. But what I do see when I watch videos on YouTube, trying to teach people how to speak Thai, is the same bad transliteration. So what that means is that those people are having the same difficulties and probably going through the same frustrations that I did years ago. And it's completely unnecessary. So in this video, I'm just going to take a couple of aspects of bad transliteration. And today I'm going to concentrate on final consonants in Thai. Before we begin, I apologise in advance for my Thai pronunciation. I haven't got a Thai person with me today to help out. And when you're learning a second language, it's much better if you start at an early age, so you don't have an accent. I didn't start learning until I was about 43, so I know that my Thai is heavily accented. But anyway, the greeting for a man in Thailand is something like "Sawatdee krap." However, many phrase books will tell you "Sawasdee krab." So what's going on? The first fundamental I'm going to talk about is something that very few learning resources talk about, but it's really critical. And that is the sound of many Thai consonants changes depending on whether the consonant is an initial consonant or a final consonant. So in that phrase, "Sawatdee krap," we've got three words. So here's the first word, sawat, and then dee krap. So let's analyse the word. So in this first word, we have an S character and then a W character, and there are no consonant clusters in Thai that begin with S. So whenever you see an S followed by a consonant, there's going to be an implied A in between. Okay, so sa. And this vowel at the top, mahanagat, it's often transliterated as an A, but it really makes like a U sound. So if you ask a Thai person to say the Thai word for teeth or tooth, tell me whether you think it's fun or fan. So phrase books will tell you fan, but in actuality it sounds much more like fun. Okay. Now here's the next bit, which is really fundamental. The initial and final consonants in that word are the same, but when this one, which is called so, is used as an initial consonant, it makes an S sound, and as a final consonant it makes a T sound. So it's not sawas. This one doesn't make another S sound, this makes like a T sound, so it's sawat. Next word is quite straightforward, D. So we've got a D consonant and an E vowel. And then the last word, we have a core consonant, a raw consonant, KR, which is a consonant cluster. We've got this vowel again, so kra, And this letter, this is called bo by mai. So if you see this consonant at the beginning of a word, it makes a B sound. But if it's a final consonant, it makes a P sound. So what you often, this is the male polite particle, krab. But in books, you'll often see this transliterated as crab, K-R-A-B. And if I was to transliterate it, I don't like using transliteration, but sometimes I'm forced to. I would spell it K-R-U-P. So in this little phrase, we've got two examples of where transliteration goes wrong. We've got two final consonants that shouldn't be S and B. They should actually be T and P. Not all Thai consonants change sound depending on whether they are an initial or final consonant. For example, the N consonant stays the same, but many do change. So let's look at a few more examples. So this first word, ahan, this is the Thai word for food. You'll see the final consonant is this one they called ro-rua. And if that was used as an initial consonant, it would make an R sound. But as it's a final consonant in this word, it makes an N sound. So ahan. This word here is the Thai word for frog. And we've got no written vowel. We need to add an implied vowel. And another confusing aspect of transliteration is that this character, gorgai, it makes the same sound that we would use for girl or gate or gorilla in English, that sort of hard G. But this is transliterated as K. So we need to add an implied O, and then again, the final consonant is bo by mai, and transliteration would use a B, but it actually makes a P sound. So if I had to transliterate it, I would say G-O-P, gob. But if you look in a book, it will say K-O-B, cob, which is completely different, and I think very, very confusing. And the last one, this is the Thai word for police, tam ruat, and the final consonant is Georgian, which makes a J sound as an initial consonant, but when used as a final consonant, it makes a T sound. You might think all these are very difficult to remember, but when I wrote my web-based tutorials many years ago, I did a Thai consonant summary. I'll give you a link to this page below. So if you go down, for each consonant, it will tell you what the initial consonant sound is, and it will tell you what the final consonant sound is. So if we go down and find which is here, it tells you that the initial sound is S and the final sound is T. And once you sort of get used to reading Thai, these things come automatically, and it's actually a lot easier than it might appear at first. This is so natural to Thais that they don't even think it's worth telling you about it. Some years ago when I was teaching English, I got into a discussion about this with my Thai students, and I had to explain to them that their consonants make different sounds as initial and final consonants, and it came as quite a shock to them, because as I say, that it's what they've been brought up with, it's the only thing they've ever known, and it just seems so natural. This is also the reason why the Thai pronunciation of English words that have been transliterated into Thai sound so strange. Like they don't, central department store, they don't say central, they say centran. And again, what they've done with the transliteration, they've just followed the English spelling. And with the English spelling, the final consonant is now, so they've followed it, and the final consonant here is a lorling, but as it's a final consonant, it becomes an N sound. So instead of central, it's centran. And again, the Thais are very keen on football, so they've taken the English word and just transliterated it into Thai. But the last consonant on football is L, so again, they've used a lorling, and it becomes football. At the end of their meal in a restaurant, Americans will ask for the check, and British people will ask for the bill. Well, in Thailand, they combined those two words, check bill, and then transliterated the words into Thai. So here we have check, and here we have bill. And they've just done a letter by letter transliteration. So B becomes bo by mai, I, sara it, and then the two L's, they've used two law lings. That doesn't make any sense in Thai, so they've used a garan symbol above the last one to say just ignore it. So this law ling here is the actual final consonant, and because it's a final consonant, it has an end sound. So Thais don't ask for check bill, they ask for check bin. So the first fundamental with Thai consonants is that the consonant sound changes depending whether it's an initial or final consonant, and that's very, very important. And the second fundamental is that the final consonant in Thai words and syllables is unreleased, and I'll try to explain what I mean by that. So if we look at some English words that end with K, T or P sounds, there's an expulsion of air on that final consonant. And it's almost like another syllable. So we would say like back. You can hear that K sound. Cat. Tip. There's the expulsion of air on the final consonant. In Thai, it doesn't exist. So this word here, this is the Thai word for root of a tree or a plant. And this gorgai, as a final consonant, makes an unreleased K sound. So we've got an R initial consonant, then a long R vowel, and it sounds something like rag. It's not rak, it's just rag with that unreleased K sound. Okay, this word here is the Thai word to bite. And same thing, there's no expulsion of air on the final consonant, it's unreleased. And this Dordek consonant is a D sound as an initial consonant, but a T sound as a final consonant. So gat. And this is the Thai word for 10, number 10. So S initial consonant, then an I vowel, and bo by mai, which as an initial consonant it makes a B sound, but as a final consonant it makes a P sound. So sip. These two fundamentals are very important, but when I watch videos teaching people how to speak Thai or look in phrase books, they're not even mentioned, and I think that's wrong. And getting back to transliteration again, with many transliteration systems, they will just use a letter for letter transliteration. So wherever Solsura appears, they will put an S regardless of the position, and the same for Bo by Mai and B. And it's just wrong. And if you're trying to learn to speak Thai and you can't yet read Thai, so you have to rely on transliteration, not only does it not help you, it leads you in completely the wrong direction. Anyway, I hope that short video has been useful. If you have any comments, questions or other feedback, please leave them below. And hopefully there'll be more videos soon.